Let's talk about that later, Mr. Hale. Tell me now just what happened when you got to the house. I didn't see or hear anything. I knocked at the door, and it was all quiet inside. I knew they must be up. It was past 8 o'clock. So I knocked again, and I thought I heard somebody say, "Come in." I wasn't sure. I'm not sure yet. But I opened this door.
He indicates the door by which the two women are still standing.
And there in that rocker sat Mrs. Wright.
He points to it. They all look at the rocker.
What was she doing? She was rocking back and forth. She had her apron in her hand and kept kind of pleating it. And how did she look? Well, she looked queer. How do you mean queer? Well, as if she didn't know what she was going to do next. And kind of done up. How did she seem to feel about your coming? Why, I don't think she minded, one way or another. She didn't pay much attention. I said, "How you do, Miss Wright? It's cold, ain't it?" And she said, "Is it?" And went on kind of pleating at her apron. So I said, "I want to see John." And then she laughed. So I said a little sharp, "Can't I see John?" "No," she says, kind of dull like. "Ain't he home?" says I. "Yes," says she, "he's home." "Then why can't I see him?" I asked her, out of patience. "'Cause he's dead," says she. "Dead?" says I. She just nodded her head, not getting a bit excited, but rocking back and forth. "Why, where is he?" says I, not knowing what to say. She just pointed upstairs, like that.
He points to the room above.
I got up with the idea of going up there. I walked from there to here. Then I says, "Why, what'd he die of?" "He died of a rope around his neck," says she, and just went on pleating at her apron. Well, I went out and I called Harry. I thought I might need help. We were upstairs, and there he was, lying. I think I'd rather have you go into that upstairs, where you can point it all out. Just go on now with the rest of the story.
She quickly shuts the door leading upstairs.
"Mrs. Peters?"
she says, abruptly moving toward her.
"Yes, Mrs. Hale?"
"Do you think she did it?"
"Oh, I don't know,"
she responds in a frightened voice.
"Well, I don't think she did. Asking for an apron and her little shawl? Worrying about her fruit?"
She starts to speak, then glances up where footsteps are heard in the room above, and continues in a low voice.
"Mr. Henderson is awful sarcastic in his speech, and he'll make fun of her, saying she didn't wake up."
Well, I guess John Wright didn't wake when they was slipping that rope under his neck.
"Oh, it's strange. They say it was such a funny way to kill a man, rigging it all up like that."
That's just what Mr. Hale said. There was a gun in the house. He says that's what he can't understand.
Mr. Henderson said, coming out, that what was needed for the case was a motive, something to show anger or sudden feeling.
Well, I don't see any signs of anger around here.
Standing, she puts her hand on the dish towel which lies on the table and looks down at the table, one half of which is clean, the other half messy.
It's wiped to here.
She makes a move as if to finish the work, then turns and looks at the loaf of bread outside the bread box. She drops the towel. In that voice of coming back to familiar things, she says,
Wonder how they're finding things upstairs. I hope she had it a little more read up there. You know, it seems kind of sneaking. Locking her up in town and then coming out here and trying to get her own house to turn against her.
But, Mrs. Hale, the law is the law.
I suppose it is.
Mrs. Peters takes off her fur tippet, goes to hang it on a hook at the back of the room, and stands, looking at the underside of the small corner table.
She was piecing a quilt.
She brings the large sewing basket, and they look at the bright pieces.
It's a log cabin pattern. Pretty, isn't it? I wonder if she was going to quilt it or just knot it.
Footsteps can be heard coming down the stairs. The sheriff enters, followed by Hale and the county attorney.
They wonder if she was going to quilt it or just knot it.
The men laugh. The women look abashed.
Frank's fire didn't do much up there, did it?
He says, rubbing his hands over the stove.
Well, let's go out to the barn and get that cleared up.
The men go outside.
I don't know as there's anything so strange. Our taking up our time with little things while we're waiting for them to get the evidence.
She says resentfully, sitting down at the big table and smoothing out a block with decision.
I don't see as it's anything to laugh about. Mrs. Peters, look at this one.
She says, examining another block.
Here, this is the one she was working on. And look at the sewing. All the rest of it has been so nice and even. And look at this. It's all over the place.
After she has said this, they look at each other, then start to glance back at the door. After an instant, Mrs. Hale has pulled at a knot and ripped the sewing.
Oh, what are you doing, Mrs. Hale?
Just pulling out a stitch or two that's not sewed very good.
She says mildly, threading a needle.
Bad sewing always made me fidgety.
I don't think we ought to touch things.
She remarks nervously.
I'll just finish up this end.
She suddenly stops and leans forward.
Mrs. Peters,
Yes, Mrs. Hale?
what do you suppose she was so nervous about?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if she was nervous. I sometimes sew awful queer when I'm just tired.
Mrs. Hale starts to say something, looks at Mrs. Peters, then goes on sewing.
Well, I must get these things wrapped up. They may be through sooner than we think.
She puts the apron and the other things together.